everybody, and welcome to episode 184 of the I Rock Knits podcast. Today, I have a guest. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
I am Sherri Falls, and I have Daisy Girl bags.
Yes, she does.
For knitting projects, stitchers, crocheters,
yeah,
that kind of thing.
And she lives like half an hour?
Maybe
20 minutes?
20 minutes.
20 minutes from me.
20
so
minutes.
I was shocked when I looked her up. I knew of her bags because I've seen them at several local yarn stores, and I love them. I have several, and you guys know, I've talked about this before, I love a see-through bag. I love a bag that you can look and see what project is in it, and that's a lot of what she makes. So we're going to talk today about her fabrics, her bag making, a little bit of knitting, and yeah, so welcome. I'm really glad you're here. She drove over to my house and said it really wasn't very far and easy to find.
Very easy.
So yeah. So when did you learn to knit?
Oh, I learned to knit when I was very little from my grandma.
Yeah, lots of people's story. Yeah,
but I never knit much because
most of us don't.
For
us. Yes,
and so when Grandma passed away, she was 98, and she was just prolific. I would get a new sweater every year for my birthday, that kind of thing. There was no one to knit, and so I was like, wait a minute, who's going to make hats and that kind of thing? So I took a class on vacation. That was kind of my thing to do, and I picked it up and haven't stopped since.
Where was the class? Was it local?
No, it was actually in Salem, Massachusetts.
Oh,
in a shop that is no longer there, unfortunately. But you walk in and they had all the yarn, every color, and it was just so beautiful. So it kind of drew me in, and I took a refresher class. And
that's kind of how I came back too. I took intermediate knitting at a shop in Wayzata that isn't there.
Okay.
Gosh, 35 years ago maybe.
Okay.
And she said, okay, we're gonna all cast on, we're gonna make this vest, and I couldn't even remember how to cast on. Like I knew how, but I was just like panicked in the moment.
Yeah.
So and then did you become a kind of a knitter with a capital K at that moment, like right away? Were you kind of or were you just making like occasional things?
No, I started knitting because sewing has been my job, which I very much love. But when it's also your hobby, it's not truly your hobby. So knitting is my hobby. And so the sewing part is also my business. So it was kind of nice to have something separate. And it was also something I could take with me. Like when I traveled, you can't take sewing with you. And I'm not a hand stitcher in any way. If I can't do it by machine, I won't do it. That's just me. And so the knitting part just clicked at that stage in my life. And
so did you start with project bags right away?
No, the way the project bags came about is I've actually been a pattern designer for about 18 years for quilts and table runners, bags, that kind of stuff. I've done books and over 300 patterns, and the What You Got bag, which the bags are made from, I would go into the shops, the knitting shops, taking classes, and people are like, "Oh, those are so cool." And I'm like, "Oh, well, you can buy the pattern." And people, I don't want to sew it. I don't want to do that. So can you make them? And then the shop owner started contacting me. I went, "Oh, well, this could be another thing to do." And so that's kind of how the bags came about to be
So
finished.
How did the sewing come about? How did you start learning to sew and become a pattern maker for sewing?
Well, I've been sewing since I was very little. I don't know, maybe even 5 years old. I mean, I used to sit on my mom's lap and sew. And through high school, I would make prom dresses. I made all my bridesmaid dresses for my wedding, and I just continued to do that. And then my mom actually owned the shop in Waconia, the quilt shop in Waconia. And so I met a lady in there who was the Moda rep for Moda Fabrics. And she asked if I would design something for her, because I always put different things together. Like a prom dress wasn't just this pattern. It was always these sleeves, this bodice, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was the same kind of thing, just different with different shapes. And so I said, "Oh, sure, I can design a quilt for you with your fabric." And she took it to market and started selling it. So I wrote up the pattern, and that just kind of, boop, there it was. So that's what I've been doing for about 18 years.
Wow.
So
did you just mostly do quilts and table runners, or did you also do some clothing?
I never designed clothing that way.
Yeah.
But it's everything from
but
bags and that kind of stuff.
okay, yeah.
But I sewed the clothes before that, kind of making my own shirts and
Yes.
dresses.
Right.
Stuff
Because
like
I
that.
grew up, my mom was a sewer, and she took me to stretch and sew back in
Oh,
the day.
yes, I
And then
remember
I
that.
made hip huggers. I was so
Okay.
proud, you know, when I was like 8th and 9th grade. And that was, you know, bell bottoms, and you could put the piece of triangular fabric in the bottom of your pants to make them big, you know,
Yep.
at the bottom, things like
Yep.
that. But I don't think I've never sewn since this kind of newer revolution of people making their own patterns and selling them online that aren't Simplicity McCall's, those, right? Like I haven't been a sewer in 20 some years.
Okay.
Like I know how to sew, but I don't sew.
Yeah.
And so I think people are, now those patterns are getting, you know, bigger, and you get them printed out and all that kind of thing is a much bigger thing. But my mom was more of a quilter, right?
Okay.
There's some more quilt stuff and
Yep.
and that kind of thing. So do you do quilting still? Like
I
do you do a lot of
Yeah, I still do. I still design patterns, and you know, I sell them wholesale to distributors, and then they sell them to quilt shops.
Got it. Okay.
So
So do you sew all day every day? Or do you have because I design knitting patterns,
Right.
but I don't knit all day every day because there's so much other work,
Yes.
right? Like people may be like, oh, it must be nice. You get to sew, or do you get to knit all day? No.
Yeah,
I'm on
no.
the computer most of the day doing emails and that kind of stuff and writing. But the knitting part is the part I have the least amount of time for. So I'm just wondering if that is similar, like.
Yeah, it is, because you get the fabric and you sew the project, but that's it. And then you have to do, like you said, everything on the computer to write up every measurement, do the cover, you know, have everything printed, have everything to the distributor, so you're interacting with them that way. So no, you're not just sitting there enjoying sewing all the time.
I know. Me
So
either.
it's not, no. Unfortunately, it's not like that.
But do you do your own photography? Mm-hmm. Wow, yeah, me too. I've started to do more of my own because it's expensive too. So in knitting, I'm gonna just keep relating this because it's what I know.
Yeah.
We have like test knitters and tech editors. Do you have that too? Somebody who like does the behind the scenes checking of your stuff?
Yes, I have people that will test the pattern for me and go through it and stuff like that before it ever goes out to the public.
Okay.
So same kind of thing, just different with fabric.
Yeah.
So,
for sure. Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So how can people find your bags? We're going to show you bags, but how can people find your bags?
I am on Etsy for the bags. So it's just...
And then, but you also sell to some of the local yarn stores.
I do.
You had them at Three Kittens, which is now closed. So they wouldn't be a place anymore. But I do have a lot of people that watch locally. So is Darn It Anyway pretty much...
Darn It Anyways has them. They do them for special occasions, sweater camp, that kind of stuff. I actually have a batch right now that I'm using their fabric that they had designed by somebody to make their own bags just for them. Rose Yarn Shop.
Okay, yes.
I do a lot for
I've
Rose
taught
Yarn
for,
Shop.
Yep, I've taught for her. Yep.
Yeah. So mainly that, but mostly on Etsy, just because the big orders get to be a lot sometimes. So it's nice just to have them occasionally, not all the time.
Yeah. So, and do you go to vendor markets? Is there anywhere that I would seem like maybe you're too busy to spend weekends at.
Yeah, I used to, pre-COVID, I used to go to like Vogue and stuff. So I did do that, which was super fun.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a little different stage in my life. My husband's retired and stuff, so now we're kind of doing other things.
Yeah.
So not quite as much time to do that.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. My husband's
going
to be of retirement age next month, and I don't know that he's going to retire right away. But that's what we're thinking too. Like, are you going to slow down? I'm like, I've only been in the business 10 years. And so,
that's a long time.
It is, but I just got my foot in the door in the last 2 years for bigger events, bigger teaching, bigger yarn companies getting in touch for design. Like, it took 8 years of like knocking on doors. And so, and now he's like, you're so busy, you're gone all the time. I'm like, this was what I wanted 10 years ago, and it just took me forever to get here. So I'm saying yes to everything.
Yeah,
everything.
No, that's good.
But yeah, but if you're gone every weekend, Like
That's
I'm
true.
gone. Like that's when all of the events. I was Wisconsin Sheep and Wool, DFW, Yarn Over. Everything is on the weekends, and that's when he's home. So I can see where if you've got this other part of your business too that isn't just bags, it would be kind of hard. What was the bag that had the vinyl insert? Is it vinyl? Is it called vinyl?
Yeah, it's
vinyl insert. Let's show one.
Yeah.
So you guys can see. So this is the bag. Was this one of the first ones you made? Was with the kind of the vinyl insert? So she's got a liner and then this here and a Ziploc, and then it's flat bottomed.
Yep.
So they do stand up. Yep, they do stand up, and then they have a handle.
Yep. They're a nice heavy interfacing, so they do hold their shape really well. I do travel with them. I mean, I ram them in my backpack and stuff, and they still pop out and they're fine. So they work good. This is actually a pattern that I designed, and so people wanted the bag finished for the yarn shops, and so people can still get the pattern if they want to make it themselves. Most knitters don't want to. They just want it done.
No, we just want to knit.
Yeah, some people are they kind of do both like I do, and so they don't mind that, but even still.
Yeah, because Matt loves to sew. My friend Matt, we were just talking about Matt. He's been on the podcast a number of times because he knits beautiful men's sweaters, so he comes and shows. And he likes to make project bags, he'll make, and he was making them out of men's shirts with the pocket.
They were beautiful.
He was taking men's shirts and making with the pocket, but he just took on a new job at IKEA, and he's going to be traveling a ton, so he won't, he's like, I can knit, but I can't, I won't be sewing as much. Yeah. So when you first made this pattern, had you seen something with vinyl? Did that just come out of your head? Like, did you think that knitters needed to see what was in their project bag? Like, what was kind of the
reason I came up with the vinyl was because I hated going through my project bags and going, what's in this one? What's in this one? Because I'm not a single project knitter. I have a lot of projects going, and it depends on
my whip tree. I have them hanging there, and and I've tried to downsize that because it fell over.
Oh no,
because it got so heavy. So I totally get that. Yep. I'm just going to show this one because she's got a pattern in it, so you can kind of see what it looks like. But look at this cute fabric.
I'm a seasonal person, so this is my autumn one that I just took traveling, jammed it in my backpack, took it all over, and it still pops out, and it's just great. So I'm kind of a
I've had mine. I probably have 3, and I've had mine for years, and the vinyl has not had any. I think sometimes people might think it will crack, it will tear. It
does not.
No, I have not had any. Anything like that goes.
Good.
Mine have held up, which in some respects you probably do maybe want them to get worn out over time, so people buy new ones, but they don't.
True,
so
but
no, I'm just kidding.
They do hold up really well. It's a heavier vinyl, but it's not too heavy, and so I've never had it. I mean, I've left mine in my car, like you said, in the winter. Brought it in the house. It's still pliable.
So what would you say, like size wise, because we have a bunch here to show, like is this like a 3 skein project bag kind of with the project, or a 2 skein with the project kind of a thing?
That's probably a 3 skein. I would say, like, if you're beginning a sweater and you're going to travel with it, or if you, because this one actually has 2 projects in it. So that one's kind of a medium, like getting going on a sweater, that kind of stuff. So this one is more popular with the sock knitters. Because you can get 2 skeins in it. You can do the 2 at a time coming out. That one's good for travel, but I have a backpack and I throw that in the.
So I just want you guys to see the fabrics go. And then where did the name Daisy Girl come from?
It's my grandma's name is Daisy. So she was darling, cute little English grandma, and her name was Daisy. And I remember her falling asleep in her chair, and she was knitting, and she fell asleep, and I'd go to take her knitting, and she'd wake up, and she could just do it. It was amazing. So she was the original Daisy. So it was just Daisy Girl and Company after Grandma.
Are you from the Midwest?
Yeah, we're from Minnesota.
Okay.
Grew up in Mound.
Okay.
So I've been here my whole life, and Grandma lived in Excelsior, and
which is all really close to where I live. All that is,
it's not far at all.
Yeah, no, not at all.
But that's where the name came from, was grandma who...
This is going to
knit
be a
for all
weird
of us.
memory, and people that watch my podcast know that I tell Corey's stories. But when I was in high school, I was a gymnast. And I was a gymnast in college, too. But because I thought I was going to go to the Olympics, right? But I grew up in South Dakota.
Okay.
South Dakotans don't usually... we don't have the competitive arena that some of the bigger cities do, right?
Yeah.
So I was unaware of how, right? But I took private gym lessons and all kinds of stuff. But when I was in high school, it was such a big deal. We came to Minneapolis and we competed at Mound High School.
You did? Oh, how funny is
And
that?
it was like one of my first
how
iterations, and I did not understand. This is going to sound so weird, but I'm 64, so this was many years ago, right? I did not understand the concept of suburbs and like how big the city could be, and like all these suburbs, and like in Sioux Falls we had 2 high schools, and so everybody, even though they were big, they're big high schools, really. Everybody knew everybody, and you always competed against that. So I knew all the gymnasts, and I didn't understand how when we came to Mound, the other suburb gymnasts, they had no clue who the other suburb gymnasts were. Like I didn't, I didn't get it at all, and it was like this big experience for us coming from what is, now there's 4 high schools in Sioux Falls, and, so it's still a small town, but there are no suburbs. Like, it's all Sioux Falls. Nothing, there are neighborhoods, but nothing like what we would call it, now here, living here. And I just have this memory of it being here in January, and the heat was not on in the building. It was the 70s, so we were all doing these conservation measures. So the heat we were freezing cold, and we're all in these little leotards, and I have this. It was a big deal for us to get in a van and drive up here. We had not done that kind of thing. We had just competed against the small towns around Sioux Falls, right, and that kind of thing. So
came to Mound.
We came to Mound, right? Like of all the suburbs, too, because
it's small.
Right, 40 years ago, it was.
Oh, it's still very, very
small, right?
It's like it's the same
not.
size.
Yeah, like it's not. It's not Edina or Minnetonka or like those big first ring suburbs. It's, it probably wasn't even considered a suburb back then, like as much. It was probably considered more of the small town, right? Like Victoria. People are like, well, that's not a suburb, right? Because we're not really attached, because there's, the Arboretum there and whatever that kind of make it people feel like they're coming more to the country. And just down this road, like not very far, are cows, right? Yeah. So they're like, that's just a small town outside of the metropolitan area, which is what I think people would have thought of Mound, because it was on the other side of Lake Minnetonka, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of
on that west end of Lake Minnetonka.
Yeah. So it's kind of on the other side.
Yeah.
So
it's on
interesting.
The very end of the
so local people will know exactly what we're talking about. Some of my other people won't have any idea what that was all about, but I tend to go and tell little Corey stories every now and then. Okay, so now we're going to do bird lovers here. This is really pretty for the bird lovers.
I love that fabric.
Yeah, it's just really lovely. Oh, that's just little flowers on the branches. And then we're going to do a Corey color. This is how I live. I live my life. Raspberry and orange. Those are my 2 favorite colors. And I love this. This is so pretty. I might have to keep this today. I might have to buy myself a bag. Isn't that fun? So, and so these are all that same 2 skein, 3 skein size.
Those are.
And here's a pop of color with a gray background. Do you lean muted colors or bright colors more yourself? Are you?
I'm like a seasonal person. So at this time of year, it's like, oh, I love the earth tones. Come January, I need something bright because it's winter and dark and dreary.
This is perfect for the fall.
Isn't that fun?
The pumpkins.
Spicy
and is it that a teapot or a coffee pot, depending on who you love?
Yeah.
Whatever you like.
Yep.
It's probably a coffee pot, but maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, it's got acorns and squash and gourds. And I just went to the Apple House yesterday and bought pumpkins.
Oh, fun.
do not go to the Apple House and buy pumpkins. Do you want to know how much I spent for a pumpkin?
Oh, how much?
$15.
Ooh, ouch.
Like I went to Costco this morning and they had big giant ones for $6.99. I wanted to go to the Apple House and support them, you know.
Yeah.
And they have the apple cider donut truck there all the time. It's right there, right?
Yeah.
I did not buy apple cider donuts. I really wanted to, but it was 6 o'clock.
Good.
It was like, 5:45, and I'm like, it's supper time. But, and they had them all out. They had so many, and they had lots of colors. But I couldn't believe it when I went in, and she's like, was it this one or this one? I'm like, oh, because you're supposed to take a picture and bring it in to show them of which ones you wanted to buy, right? And I'm like, oh, it was this size, and she's like $15, and I was like,
oh,
that is not okay. Like,
no, we live out, and so there's a local family that they're like, there's the field, and I think we got 3 for $20, and they're huge. They're like the really big. Like,
mine literally was, is this big? They're on my front. I did get 2 white ones, but they weren't marked up because they were white. I just have these stands that have little spider legs and little eyes on them. I'll take a picture and stick it in. But I wanted to put 2 in that stand. So I took those with me to set in there. So I only wanted to get the 2 pumpkins to put in that thing. And I couldn't believe it. My husband's going to have a fit when he sees that receipt. He's going to be like, what were you thinking? And I'm like, well, I like to support the Arboretum, but
I love the Arboretum. But we go to a local farmer.
I should have.
So cute.
I should have. Right? Like I just drove back from South Dakota, and there were a bunch of farms that had them out on the side of the road. And I was driving back, and I just wanted to get home, and I didn't even think. But I probably could have gotten them for $3.99. You know, the farmer's got a field and a garden, and they're like, "Here, we'll put some out on the road."
Yeah. Pick them up.
I was like,
oh goodness.
Oh man. Okay, let's show this giant one.
So this is the sweater size. So this one will house, depending on the size sweater you're doing, obviously, but this one, a lot of people kept saying they love the large size, which is the one you were showing, but they wanted something bigger for a sweater.
Yeah.
Which I think is great if you're going to a class or whatever. I personally wouldn't travel with it.
It's
a little too big for that.
For at home, like I do like having my the whole thing in one sitting there. If I'm going to take it with me, then I'll just take the sweater attached to the one ball kind of thing. Yeah. But this is, look at how big this is compared to our head. Yeah. It's really, really nice. For sure.
People really like the all-in-one, like you said. It keeps everything contained.
Okay, this is going to be weird, but I'm going to like show you guys. We're going to just grab, how many can we put in here? That would just like, okay, so there are 2 laying on the bottom. 4. I know they're not bald, but 6.
No, but
look at how big this is. 8, 10. I mean, like if any, and these are fingering and DK. So like that's 12 skeins of yarn in there, and and then there's a little bit of room on top. Yep. So that's how I mean, I just think it's hard on the camera to know exactly how how big they are. I mean, they can look at the measurement on your site, but I just think that's a good kind of a good idea to give you, that you could get. And even if you just wanted to store a sweater's quantity for a while, you know.
Well, and I like it because if I actually when I start a sweater, sometimes I put the yarn on my shelf and then I'm like, where did all that yarn go? And then I can't find the yarn to finish the sweater.
Absolutely.
So now I'm all actually organized, and I haven't had that problem since.
Absolutely. Okay, let's look at the small ones.
These are not on my website yet. I've just started doing these. So this is just a little pouch. I just did this for my knitting group last weekend. So it's kind of like a little bucket.
Yep.
So you can put your skein in there, your cake, and then you can snap it up if you want when you're traveling. Otherwise, it can sit on your table. I know some of my friends have kitties, and then it's not going to roll away for your kitties.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like a yarn bowl.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. It's a little more portable. It can be squished.
And then it's got these snaps.
Yep. So it holds it together.
That's lovely. This is really cute fabric, too.
I like fabric. There's not much fabric I don't like.
And where do you get fabrics? Do you get them online mostly now?
Yeah, I actually get them from Moda Fabrics, Art Gallery Fabrics, Riley Blake. So mainly from the wholesalers.
Yeah.
So because I buy them in the whole bolt.
Right.
So yeah,
that's really cute.
It's kind of fun.
Super cute.
So and then these are just little notion pouches, so you can get them in matching to the actual thing, but they got a little bit of a flat bottom to them also.
Oh, okay. So like this could go with this.
Yes.
Right? So they can coordinate. So you can have your notion pouch. But I do feel like a skein of sock yarn could fit in there. Mm-hmm. Right? Like in desperation. Like if you really wanted a small, it wouldn't have to. Oh, this is darling.
Isn't that fun?
Oh, but really cute.
To me, it's a nice size of a notion pouch. So if you have like your tape, you know, your highlighter tape to put in there with your stitch markers, everything can go in there, but it's still flat enough that it can squish in your bag, or if you wanted to sit up, like if you're at a class and you're kind of digging for different notions, it will sit flat.
Oh yeah, no, and I love the, okay, orange is totally my color.
And I love plaids.
And so that's really fun. Really cute. And then she's got two more little ones.
To see different, because that kind of goes
fabrics.
with the yarn wool.
No, for sure. So this one and this one. And then do you make a set of all of them, like this and a big one on all of them, or just more randomly?
Usually it's I would say that
one
that's
or the
more
other.
Like a custom thing where if somebody wants one, I have a lady who will pick a fabric and she wants every size in that fabric. That's what works for her. Most people
are a little
more like me, where they're like, oh, it's fall, I need this for fall.
Yes.
But, oh my goodness, it's starting to Christmas, I need a Christmas one. And so a lot of people do it like that, but some people do like it all in the same fabric of their choice. So
what's the price point range on your bags? Like, what's the low end and what's the high end on your bags?
The small ones are $38, which is this one.
Okay.
And then they go up to $62, I think it is, for the large.
Okay, I feel like that's really reasonable.
Is that okay? Good.
No, I do. I feel like that's really reasonable. I bought a vinyl bag when I was at DFW from a guy I've known for years, Whimsy Stitches, Rick. Okay, and he had a vinyl bag, and some of his bigger bags were not out of my price range, but then I went in some other booths and I was like, wow, these are getting up there. I get it. I get why. I understand the economy, the tariffs, the sewing of a bag, the time. I get the handmade piece. Yeah. But then sometimes you're just like, I can't spend $100 on a bag right now, right? Like, so I think that's a really nice price point range for people. And some people can't afford $62 for a bag. Like, I totally get that too.
I get that.
But when you're getting a handmade item that carries, can hold 12 skeins of yarn, it's going to stand up with vinyl, right?
That's
like,
awesome. I've never actually packed one like that. That's fantastic.
But no, I mean, that's just, it's funny. Because I'm quirky like that. But,
I love it.
Like if I have 2 sweaters quantities and I have yarn everywhere. See all the jars and the baskets? Like it's up there. I have it everywhere. And sometimes I like to have it out. It reminds me of how much yarn I have, how many projects I want to get done, right? Like it's a visual for me, and I'm a color person. I don't like it. I have a ton in that closet right there. And that's the second closet. Okay. So I can show you. But it's I don't like it to be tucked away. I like that I can leave those doors open. My office is to the left, and I can stand there and just kind of look and be like, okay, you don't need pink yarn. You have a whole tub of pink yarn right here, right? And it's really, I'm sure it looks a little like your fabric, Exactly. So you said you just moved, but do you have a set room, like a set aside area, studio spot somewhere that you can do all of your, so it's all out and you've got organized fabric and things like that?
Yeah, that was a big deal when we moved, because we moved out of the family home when the kids grew up and moved away, and so everything had to fit downstairs in the family room for me. So I have the whole area, which is really nice. So it's all organized, it's all there. I can just go down and work, and then I can go down,
walk away from it,
come back up, enjoy life. not that I don't enjoy sewing because I do, but you know what I mean? You kind of leave it, but I can leave it however, and it won't drive my husband crazy with it all over.
I know. So my husband is officing upstairs. Our master bedroom is there on the right, so I only live on this floor. Like I never go upstairs. We had a daughter, and there were spare bedrooms up there, but there's no reason to go up there. But that bonus room that's there has a giant closet in it. It was a toy closet. It was a bonus room. That's where they had sleepovers. It was a playroom. Oh, fun. You know, and that he's officing in there, but that closet would be a perfect place for me to have all my yarn and have it all in one closet and kind of move out of the office down here and the chair where I knit my nest over there, right?
Yep. But I have a knitting chair.
There are times when I think it would be really nice to have a space where I could, because it's a fairly big room where everything could be. I could have a couple tables and have it all spread out. But I like being in the hub of my home, right? Right now, I like being down here. I don't want to like isolate myself up there. I think maybe I'd be more productive if I wasn't down here. Like, do you feel like when you go to the place downstairs, you're just like down there and this is work time, right? Yes. And when I'm here, like I see a package come to the front door and I think about supper and I'll just go in the kitchen and start like I'm highly distractible. That could just be because I do have a hard time just planting myself in the chair to knit and get the knitting part of my job done. That's the part that I have the kind of least amount of time for. So I'm just wondering about like having that space where you just go and you're like, I'm going to put in a certain number of hours. On the other hand, do you sometimes overwork because you're down there? Like you sit too long, you sew too long?
Yep. And it depends on what, you know, if I have deadlines for, you know, if there's an event coming up and I have to do bags, that kind of thing. And I'll be down there, you know, 6 a.m. and I will work and not get distracted. But other days when I don't have the big deadline, sometimes like you, I will get distracted and go, oh, I'm going to go for a walk or whatever. But when I do have to work, I'm down there, I dedicate and I just stick to it.
So are you an early riser?
I am an early riser, and depending on what I have to do, sometimes I'm a late night person too. So it just
my husband's a super early riser. He runs with our dog. Our dog's at daycare today because I have a bunch of stuff to get done, and I sent him to daycare. But I'm a night owl.
Okay.
A super night owl. Like I have a little thing in my phone that says "Go to bed, Corey,"
Oh,
because I would stay up too late, and everybody else starts their day early. You know, like in the world.
Yes.
And I'm still, 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I can, and so, but I sleep in.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a morning person, and that started kind of during COVID. Okay. But that's when I can get my knitting done, is those late night hours. And I'm not good in the morning. Yeah. So we have a swing schedule, but I would knit all night, but then I'd have to sleep all day, and that just doesn't work with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Like you can't run errands and go to Costco and walk the dog and all that at night.
Right.
So it just doesn't really. Anyway, it works for me to just go to bed, but I do like if I get up and get things done first thing in the morning. I just struggle with that. I'm not very good.
But if you have your pocket of time at night, it works for you and the world is quiet.
Yes.
That makes a big difference too, because if I'm writing, I will do that late at night when the house is quiet, or that I'll get up early and do it when not much is going on.
Did you have this job, you were doing this job when you had kids at home?
Yep. And
what were there more interruptions that you had to deal with, or were they like, okay, mom's in the sewing room, so
they were good about it. I would work, like I said, very early in the morning before they got up, get them off to school. I'd work during the day while they were at school. They'd come home, we'd have this pocket of time. My husband actually worked a mid shift for 17 years, from 4 to 2. So I would get the kids, have them have dinner, do all the homework, run to Girl Scouts, all that kind of stuff, and they'd go to bed, and then I'd work more.
Yeah.
So, and if I had to, occasionally I would take like an afternoon nap just to be refreshed when they got home.
No,
but
for sure.
It worked well. I can do things on a schedule, but I've done it so long that I just kind of go, oh, there's a pocket of time, I'll go do this. There's a pocket of time, I'll go do that. So I'm kind of...
See, I've never worked a swing schedule like that, but 4 to 2 would be kind of my ideal. right? Like,
yeah,
that would be hard for family life, right? That'd be hard for family life, I would think. But that would be, I was a high school teacher, so we had to be standing in the hallway at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
And for 17 years, I taught in Wayzata for 17 years before we got transferred out to the East Coast. And, you know, I had to be up at the crack of dawn, and it was not, I was a crabby muffin, you know, for the first, you know, 2 hours of the day, because it just was not, I have a hard time going to bed at night and, you know, getting to bed early. And so, but that 4 to 2 would be kind of my ideal. I think.
And he liked it. He did it for 17 years, and that was good. But we needed somebody there with the kids to do all the running and stuff, and that's why this ended up being such a good job for me to do, you know, when the kids were available and when they weren't. So it just, I was able to fit it in. It never really bothered me if they had friends over or whatever. They'd be off playing. I could just hear them, but I could still get my stuff done. I'm not as good anymore at that, because it's almost like I need that little bit of crazy going on in the house to focus. It's a little too quiet some days.
Exactly.
So.
That's what happens to me when I sit down and knit sometimes during the day. I really struggle during the day to just sit in the chair and bang out some of the rows that I need to get done for design, because it is kind of quiet and slow and can be boring, which sounds weird, but like then you have to get up and do something, and that is the distractible part. Do you teach sewing? Like, have you taught pattern making or classes or anything like that?
I have over the years. I've taught quite a bit. I've traveled with it. I've gone to England several times. I have a friend there who has a shop, and so I would go there and help with shows. And I've gone to Alaska and taught, did a few cruises and taught.
Oh, so that's my dream.
Fun, so.
I've never been on a cruise, but that's becoming a pretty big
so it was,
market for people to go on a cruise and take knitting classes. So
So I've taught the sewing aspect quite a few different places. So it's been a great perk.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's what I'm feeling right now, is I get to go to places I haven't been, and it's been kind of fun. Well, this has been lovely.
Yes, thank you.
Is there anything you feel like I missed?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think this is great.
Yeah, I'm really excited about letting people know about your bags, because I just think that they're not readily available in town where you see them everywhere you go, right? And so I think there will be a lot of people who have not seen them. So go over to Daisy Girl and Company. That's what her brand name is. And there's a lot of Daisy stuff out there. Yeah. You know, companies that have the name Daisy in them, because I was looking you up.
Oh, okay.
You know, Instagram and those things, just to make sure that I knew enough about, you know, and your website and stuff. And so Daisy Girl and Company is her name. And so, thanks for coming out. Hi, everybody. I'm just jumping back in here to add a couple things to the podcast. The one thing that I always get asked is what I'm wearing, and this is my Friendship Road sweater. It is knit with Cascade Ultra Pima cotton. It has the Friendship Road, and you go to your friend's house and pick them up, and then you drive to the knitting event together. And then Sherri was so kind to offer a bag for a giveaway, and so I took her up on that. This is the fall bag. It's so pretty. And I went to the Patreon community and I drew Lynn Kelly. So Lynn, you are the winner of this bag. I don't know if I have your address or not. I might, but I know I have your email. So when you see this podcast go live, please send me your address and I will get this out in the mail to you. Yeah, thanks to Sherri for being so generous. She also gifted me the colorful bag, which I absolutely love, and I'm going to run and put some stuff in it right now. But go over and check out Daisy Girl and Company. And sharing your bags with us. Yeah, so go over and take a look, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.